Google Plus is finally gone. That's right, G Plus is finally officially dead, and if you go to the website, you'll now see a message telling you that, and this includes personal profiles, business profiles, brand accounts, whatever on Google Plus. It's all gone. It's still technically around just for like enterprise companies who want to use it internally as a internal corporate network, but none of it's public. It's gonna only be kind of isolated to different companies, and if you have a G Suite account, which is basically like you have your own domain and you kind of hook up Google services to it, but for all intents and purposes, that's gonna be a whole separate thing. So G Plus is not anywhere near where it was before. It's just dead. Google did announce that they were going to shut this down several months ago. Apparently, part of the reason was that 90% of people who went to Google Plus spent less than 5 seconds on the site. So pretty much a vast majority of the people who were using Google Plus only did so by accident, and as soon as they realized that they were on Google Plus, like, oh god, and immediately clicked away. So they were like, yeah, this isn't really working. And I think most people pretty much saw this coming. I don't think anyone is surprised that Google Plus was doomed pretty much from the start. However, it is not the only product that Google killed off this year, and of course, it's not the only product they killed off in the past, and there have been several products that have been killed off that people actually did like a lot. The first is the Inbox app, which was a Gmail client, and actually looked pretty awesome. I know there was plenty of people who actually really liked it. I didn't really use it exclusively. I just used the iPhone mail app by default, but the Inbox app was pretty cool because it kind of like parsed all your emails, would show you flight information at the top and stuff like that. You can kind of like pin stuff. It was just a nicer looking thing, and it was just different than Gmail. But I think basically they implemented a lot of the inbox features into the Gmail account, so they were like, well, it's redundant now. But obviously it's not completely redundant because there were plenty of people that preferred it and did use it. So this is another instance of something where Google kind of had something that people liked, it just maybe wasn't as used as they wanted, and they just shut it down. Another notable one is the Google URL Shortener. So you may have seen this. It's like GOO.GL URL Shortener. You could put in a URL and it would shorten down. And I think from now on, they probably will still have the shortened URLs that already exist. They'll let those keep working, but they won't let you create any new ones. And I know this is one that a lot of spammers used a lot of times, and because it was Google, maybe it like allowed them to get a little bit more credibility because people are like, oh, it's a Google link or whatever. So I'm not even really sure why they ended this service. I think one of the reasons was there's lots of other services out there that are still as alternatives, which is true. There's like Bitly and plenty of others, but still, I know a lot of people use this. I used it a lot for like some playlist links and stuff on YouTube, so it's kind of a shame. Then there's also the Google Allo app, which was released a couple years ago along with Google Duo, which I do believe is still around. But Allo is basically like a text message app, a rich text message app, which was cool, but it had one fatal flaw in that it did not support regular SMS text messages. So you could only use Allo with other friends who also used Allo, which was really, really stupid. They never supported SMS, which means that the only time you could use it was if you could convince a friend to sign up for it, and then you would have to like switch back and forth between text message apps, depending on whether the person had Allo or not, which just, it really doomed it from the start. I don't know why they did that. So of course it was dead. I don't think anyone really used it. Again, Duo is basically like a FaceTime, and I think that still is active because it's not really any alternative. But yeah, it's really a shame that they ended Allo, and they should have added that SMS feature. Then it would have actually been worth using even if other people didn't have Allo, because then at least you could still use it as a regular SMS message app. But I think if you did try to message people who didn't have Allo with it, then it would like send it from some random number, and it would like invite people to use it at the same time along with some message. It was so stupid. And really, that is just 100% Google's fault. All they had to do is implement that one feature, and then it basically would have been like the iMessage of Android. It's like on Android, you can use iMessage with people who have it, but if they don't, then it just sends a regular SMS message. Why didn't they just do that with Allo? I swear Google just does not think things through. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason, but still, there's no excuse for having a messaging app that does not support SMS. One physical product they actually killed off just recently is the Chromecast Audio, which you may remember is basically like a Chromecast, but instead of having an HDMI output, it was just a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And the idea here was that you could basically turn a dumb speaker into a smart speaker. And the idea was pretty cool. I guess not a lot of people used it, or maybe there was alternatives, or just people now only use like Bluetooth speakers. There aren't that many dumb speakers around anymore. So I guess it kind of makes sense. I'm sure it just didn't get enough sales. And yeah, it is harder to maintain a hardware product because there's like a lot more overhead in creating it. So probably just didn't have that profit. But still, it's kind of a shame. I have a Google Chromecast Audio, and I guess I don't use it ever, but it's still a neat product that they made in the first place. And one product I remember from several years back that I'm still bummed that they got rid of, you've heard me talk about it before probably, is the Google Wallet card, which was a physical credit card that you could tie to your Google Wallet account. You could add money to it instantly, and with no fee, it would instantly transfer from your bank account, and they would kind of basically front you the money without having to wait for the ACH transfer to go through, and you could even withdraw from it. There's no other virtual card that I know of that even does that to this day, so it kind of is a bummer that they got rid of it. I still have it, and of course it expired after they announced that they were shutting it down. I think it's another instance of a product where it was awesome, but they discontinued it because not enough people used it, but meanwhile they just didn't promote it to anyone. No one even knew about it, so it's kind of a shame. And while I do think that it's great that Google does experiment with all sorts of new products and stuff like that, they try stuff out, it's kind of maybe going to give them a bad reputation where if they release a new product, people might not use it because they're like, oh, well, why bother if they're gonna just shut it down in a couple years? If I start to depend on it, then you know, they're gonna cut it out from under me and you're not even gonna be able to use it anymore. And they do tend to do this a lot with stuff that is kind of cool, but no one really had a need for it. No one really asked for it. I think one example is like Google Spaces. That was another like sharing app or something. I don't really know what the purpose of it was. They shut that down because no one used it. And I don't know, there's a lot of stuff like that. At the end of the day, they are able to do this because they have so much of that revenue from the Google search engine, from ads. I think like 80% plus comes from ads, which I guess has little overhead. It's a non-physical product, so they're just like, yeah, let's find out what else we can spend money on and maybe something else will take off. But then they cut those products the second it doesn't start to do well. And I mean, in the long run, it'll be good probably because they are experimenting with a lot of stuff, so they probably will every once in a while hit on something that is truly gold, like this self-driving car stuff. Hopefully they don't shut down that. I really hope that takes off, and I think they are putting a lot of money into that. I think they're getting external investors. I think one of the big problems is they don't really promote their new products a lot. The example I gave was the Google Wallet card, but even with the Google Plus release, when they first released it, they had this stupid beta program where there was so much hype around it and you had to wait to get an invite to it. And while there was the invite period, everyone was super excited, wanting to get in. And by the time they finally opened it up, you know, the hype was gone. So they should have released it at the peak of the interest, and then everyone would have swarmed it at once and signed up. And really, that's the problem with most social media networks, is nobody uses it. So if you sign up, you know, it's kind of a chicken and egg problem. So if they had signed up when there was peak hype, everyone would have used it at once. They probably would have had a chance, but they didn't do that. Going back to the title of this video, it's like, why does Google keep doing this? They have such a mismanaged launch of all these products, and it's like, you think that Google, with billions and billions of dollars, one of the most profitable companies in the world, and they can't even launch products and maintain them right. It's like, Google, what are you doing? It's almost like they make too much money because they don't have to actually, you know, risk anything on it. It's like, we'll kind of half-ass it. Maybe we'll put some into it. If it doesn't take off immediately, we'll just cut it off, whatever, no matter how much potential it has. And it is definitely a huge shame. I think Google, they need to kind of innovate more. People kind of stomp on Apple a lot, but at least they do, you know, maintain their products even if it doesn't take off too well. Like Apple Maps, remember that whole fiasco? At least they kept it, improved it, even though it was like really bad at the beginning. Google, it seems like if it's not that great, they just get rid of it instead of bother improving it. So there's not much more to say about it. I don't think Google is going to really change their ways anytime soon unless someone lights a fire under their ass or something, which the way they have the monopoly on the Google search, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So we can only hope that they release something that's awesome and it actually does well so that we can keep using it. But until then, I don't know. I'd love to know what you guys think. Are there any products that Google released in the past that you just loved and then they pulled it out from under you and you couldn't use it anymore? Let us know down in the comments. If you want to keep watching some videos, I'll put those right on here. You can just click on those. And if you want to subscribe, I make a couple videos a week, so it should be worth it. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys, so thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.